Yeah, Jim, we okay?
That work come out low, and then.
Good evening, folks. I'd like to welcome everyone to the regular meeting, of the RSU 25 School Board. It's time. You could all please join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic that stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Boothby, if you could take the attendance, roll call.
Mr. Burgess,
Present.
Ms. Foster,
Present.
Mr. Frazier,
Here.
Mr. Nealon,
Present.
Mr. Wentworth,
Here.
Mr. Cobb,
Here.
Ms. Atherton,
Here.
and absent is Mr. Foster. We have a quorum. You may proceed.
Thank you. Public participation at this time. If there's anybody here from the public that would like to address the board, this would be the time to do that. Folks would like to email for public comment. They can do that at publiccomment@rsu25.org or phone in for public comment at 307-8099.
I know it's not a normal time, but I would like to make a comment. Jen Tarrant from Bucksport, and tonight I wanted to thank the board and the RSU for, as the mom of a robotics team member, and an emotional senior year. The reason I wanted to make a comment is I didn't get a chance to go to Texas, but I did get a chance to go to the other competitions this year. And I think it's important to acknowledge that the reason I believe that these students have been so successful is the support that they get from the RSU. Because robotics is a co-curricular and they are able to do work in school. And I know that it was the decision of some of you in this room back when the program started to make it that way. And other schools don't run their program that way. And sometimes they're a club, they're not even school connected. And I don't think that a group in a community of this size particularly could ever be successful if they didn't have the support of the school system and the opportunity to work and do the learning that's connected. And the team won, one of the awards that they won has to do with the process that they use. And that's because they were able to do that here. And so I just want to commend everyone involved in bringing the program here. And it's been amazing to watch as a parent, and I know how much it's meant to my son. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anybody else in attendance who would like to address the board this evening? Okay. Moving on. Adjustments to the agenda.
We have a couple of adjustments. If you would take, please add to L1A, Joey Doors, BMS Robotics. Joey needs to step down. He still wants to be involved as a volunteer, but as a lead coach, he's going to be stepping down. Also, if you could add David Gross to L1A. David's been our wrestling coach for the past few years. He is also stepping down from that position. And it's just a note that I put the Aspire meeting to start at 6, it's really 5:30 p.m. So we'll cover that again later on in the meeting. So those are the adjustments I have for this evening.
Okay. Approval of the minutes. We're going to get a chance to look over the approval of the minutes. If so, would like to motion to approve those.
I move we approve the minutes.
Second. First and second. Is there any questions or comments around the minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor? Yeah. All those opposed? Good. Thank you. Some correspondence.
In your packet, you should have some correspondence. One is from the Maine Teacher Residency Program, University of Southern Maine. Just so you're aware, we're always looking for ways to attract teachers and talent to our schools. Fewer and fewer people are going through our teacher preparation programs at UMaine Orono, Hudson, University of Maine Farmington, University of Southern Maine, all the other schools. And so we're trying new and different tactics, and one of those is a teacher residency program. And that's where a teacher will, or a person who will be hired to work concurrently with completing their student teaching. It's unique. We've used it successfully a couple of times now. This is just thanking us for that. Came from the University of Maine system. Lynn Ross is in charge of that program. She is a professor for the University of Southern Maine. She leads the Maine teacher residency program board, and which one of the board members is your own curriculum director, Ms. Ellis. So we're active participants in this. Ms. Ellis couldn't wait to become a part of that program.
It's actually great.
I know.
Thank you.
It was an opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of those voluntold opportunities. She's taking advantage of it. Also, we received notification, I think this came just today or the day before, for the Department of Education as an extension for REV grant monies that we have received, that we actually now have through 6/30/24 for expenditures of those. And I believe, Katie, we're expecting one more of these.
Yes, I emailed her today asking if we were, that's for the high school. We haven't received the one for the middle school yet.
Yeah, but that should be forthcoming. Okay. We also have in here, we did do a bid opening for our SRRF projects that we put out to bid. I gave you some information on that in my report. This is the actual bid. So you can see the numbers associated. Nice part about that is the bids came in below projected budgets, so that's good. And the other good news is we received at least one qualified certified bid. Yes, I was afraid we might not, so, but that did happen. And as I said in my report, we had interest from one other company, but they wanted to push all the work off until summer of 24. We just couldn't do that. So that was, you know, they understood. I believe that's all I have for communications. And I can roll right into my report if you like.
Absolutely, that'd be wonderful.
Okay, so busy time of the year. I gave you a number of dates. A lot of these, especially the academic banquet, that's something you as board members are invited to with a +1. You'll have to get back to Christina on that, and she'll be reaching out to you for more information. But that's where we recognize top 10 from middle school, top 10 from high school. Have a dinner here at the high school. It's usually a very, very nice event, and so it's exciting to go that way. Other than that, everything is pretty much on the agenda, but definitely those dates are important for you. Barring a freak storm of some sort, last day of school is June 14th, so we're right on target. Go from there. I really wanted to point out, we'll talk more about that when we get to the agenda around the revolving renovation fund, what an opportunity that's presented. Again, you know, it's a cost, but 50% of a zero interest loan is forgiven. That's huge. And that's the kind of money you're not going to get opportunities at every day. So take advantage of that. That's what I got. I can answer any questions for folks if you'd like.
Anybody have any questions for Jim surrounding his report? Board chair's report. I guess one of the more apparent things in the community today is the success of the robotics team. I think Jim spoke well to that, and the fact that it was a conscious decision by the board at the time to bring this on, and through Mr. Boothby and the curriculum team, and to integrate that into the school and build the engineering program, computer sciences, the opportunities that have been afforded by benefactors providing monies to support our CNC machines and the tools that we need to accomplish this. I think it's going to prove very well for us. Speaking with people that I work with and folks that I know, they're very impressed with what's going on here. I think that a lot of folks are looking to us, I would assume, from around the state as to how we're doing business here. So congratulations to everybody. And it's definitely been a community effort. nice. I was past my bedtime last night when I got home, but it was nice to watch this morning when I got up on Facebook, the parade through town and the welcoming of the team back. So
That bus was actually met in Orrington or Southbridge?
Just into the Orrington. They went by my house. I saw the police cars, the fire trucks and everything go by. And
The Northcote County Sheriffs, 3 of them met up with the bus in Orrington, escorted them through Orrington and handed them off to the Bucksport
Oh, that was.
PD and Fire Department. Pretty exciting.
Camp Over. He used to be representing.
Yeah, well, he was on his front lawn,
Yeah, he has big signs out there congratulating them.
pretty excited, so good stuff. And I suspect Mr. Tripp may talk more about it in his report. Probably will be his whole report, but we'll find out later.
Something attraction.
His smile says there's a chance.
Reading the crowd, I.
okay, item J, committee reports, curriculum committee.
All right, thank you. So we met on April 13th. And the majority of the meeting, we focused on the curriculum review work that's been done so far this year with Christina and her committees. We looked really briefly at the K-12 life and career ready standards, which is still being worked on. But spent the bulk of our time talking about the K-12 English language arts, which is also still being worked on. We're hoping that that can be brought in front of the school board coming up so that we can implement it for next year. But really what we need to do is we're updating it because the updated Maine 2020 learning requirements have now been signed into law. So we have to maintain our compliance with that. And the plan going forward is to review and update these every 5 years. And from what they found so far, the K2 reading program does need to be updated a little bit. It no longer meets the standards, but we do have money in the current budget for that. So it's not going to impact next year's budget. That was important to school board members, particularly important to school board members, but everybody, I guess. And then the 3 to 8 writing units will also need to be updated. But the reading units are okay. And it's minimal money that we're talking about. And hopefully we're gonna have it ready for the school board meeting for June. Then we also looked at the PEPG plan that they added to the agenda, which is like sort of like if you work anywhere that has surveys, like you have to do a review in either an internal review or sometimes you have an external review is what I sort of liken it to, but it's part HR where you can sort of coach people, teachers that are not working up to their standards, and then part providing useful feedback so that they can improve because that's what it's all about, right? It's kind of a nice new way of doing things because it includes many observations and they can be unannounced. They used to be like pretty like bigger and they would be announced. So it would put all this pressure on the teacher and they would have time to prepare, but then they'd be nervous and now they can just kind of pop in and say, I'm doing your classroom right now. Like, and so it's unannounced, which is a little bit of pressure, but for like a minute before you start teaching, I suppose. So hopefully we'll have this ready for June as well to be able to really present it to the school board and adopt it. But a lot of good things happening. And then we had some district updates from Christina on behalf of Jim, and our next meeting date is May 11th. That's pretty much it.
Any questions?
Oh, just kidding. We did change that. That's right. And that was a big discussion actually. June 1st, just kidding. That was a big catch and Christina's on top of it.
That's what it says. Any further questions around the curriculum committee? Finance committee. We would like to
Finance committee met before this meeting and went over the costs and the reports for the last month. Food service is a little bit in the red. That's something that we're going to have to plan for moving forward because we are going to be losing a lot of revenue in that area next year. A lot of matching funds that are running out. We are currently at 23% of the budget remaining, right in line with where we should be for the year. Certain cost centers are still showing higher numbers, higher amounts of the budget still available, but those are going to come back into a level range as certain things wrap up for the year.
Any questions around the finance committee? Anything to add, Mr. Booth?
No, I think that was very accurate, but we'll talk in our next budget meeting, which will be May 4th. And we really got to take a look at the food service program because of the reimbursements are changing. And we're going to be getting a lower rate. And as we calculate food cost, employment cost, we need to make sure we have enough money built in there that's going to offset the negative. So it's a conversation we'll have in a bit.
Thank you. That was much better than I was able to articulate that.
No, you did probably.
Policy committee, the policy committee did not meet.
We will be, once we get through budget season, we'll be cranking up again through July, August, September, October. That's where the bulk of our work takes place in the first half of the year.
Facilities and grounds.
Facilities and grounds did not meet, but Anthony wrote a pretty detailed email, sent one out. Because he felt sorry for us because we had so many budget meetings, so he thought he'd put a detailed email out. And I passed it out if you all have one. Going over it, I guess there was a lot of work that was to be done over April vacation. And he wanted to bring up the fact that the new water heaters have shown up on site and they put them in the boiler rooms. And all these certain projects that were going to be done. Jim, do you know anything that's happened since last week?
Well, the water heaters are actually being installed. They're doing the Miles Lane one right now. They're dry fitting everything. It's amazing difference. It's about a third the size of what currently exists there.
Oh, wow.
And the efficiency is far better. So we're gonna benefit from that. They did do the roof cut-ins for the HVAC on the Jewett project. When you go by the school, you'll see the safety
Yellow flag.
yellow flags up there, which is good. That's where we want safety. They do have to go back on two of them. They cut the holes and then they put the flanges in and then they put rubber material over the top. Well, one of the pieces of rubber had pinholes in it, so we now had a leak. So he's got to go back and seal that. Had a nice little pool of water in the, and it just kept dripping, but that's been taken care of. Anthony has been very busy. We're looking ahead the next 2 years. One of the things that it's been discussed in facilities and we need to come up with a concrete plan is the water main that feeds the Jewett building goes underneath the slab of the addition, which was done in the 50s, 60s, which is what parallels Broadway. And we've already had to replace part of that because of during the winter in the frost and ship, they cracked the feed line, so they had to dig it down, cut back 4 feet. The problem is we've seen this, and it was 3 years ago, we saw it. That pipe was at a point where we could lose it at any point in time. Just a cold, we've been fortunate because we haven't had cold weather. So we want to get ahead of this. And so we're devising a plan for that. The facilities committee will get an outline of the plan with a proposed timeline at the next meeting. Anthony has been working with local contractors to arrange for the proper digging, preparing to look into the water pipes. We've met with the Maine Water representative here in Bucksport. I've reached out to Maine Water looking for potential grants for repairing of or replacing our cold water feed lines because of the issues with lead. So we can mitigate all that. So this is all a multi-year plan of looking forward, but that's all in the works, more work to come. Also, we are going to a portion of the Jewett School playground, which is all tar. We're going to, this has been at the request of teachers, we've talked to administration, is we're putting in a new playground for the pre-K, which is monies that was generated through the Head Start program. They're actually paying for the equipment, paying for installing it while the company's there. We're going to cut back a section of tar about 40 feet wide, the width of the playground, and turn that back over to grass. Kids are just playing on tar. It's really not the best thing for 4 and 5 year olds. I'd rather see muddy than cut up. So we're going to do a little bit of that. And that really was generated from the teachers. And They're the ones who are out there every day with the kids, and it's not a bad idea. So we've talked to a local contractor, it's below the $10,000 threshold, so we can just take care of it directly through contracting. So he's been a busy man.
Also CMP came and
Yep.
hooked up that new pole.
Yep, CMP's, the pole out here and the power, they put the new pole in, which has been sitting on the ground for 2 years. That's been put in there. And we're working with Aspire, and we've gotten permission from the town. Basically, we talked to CMP and they said, well, if town says, okay, it's okay with us. And I'll let Aspire talk about it, but excuse me, we're going to have a series of banners put up, Aspire Golden Bucks banners put up in front of the schools, Broadway, Bridge Street, and up along in front of the high school, up along Miles Lane, up in the fields, but it'll tie the whole campus together and really focus on building those aspirations and looking to the future. So, but we've got permissions from where we need to go. We, at a point, we finally came down to, we'd agreed upon number. Have you ordered those, Jen?
Hopefully tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we'll get those ordered and get those put on, so.
And next meeting's May 18th.
Yeah.
As of today.
Any questions, further questions around facilities? HCTC committee.
Yes, we did meet. There were 3 major things that happened during that meeting. One of them was we renamed the program. Now, it doesn't sound very important, but it was hospitality, travel, and tourism. And there's a lot of business involved in the hospitality and tourism business. So we've changed the name to Business Leadership and Hospitality, which hopefully will pique some more kids' interest in that program. Secondly,
Interest a little bit more.
GSA has just started up a welding program. It's great for GSA, but it takes away from our satellite welding program, and we're losing revenue for every student that goes to GSA that would have come here. That's a sticky wicket with HCTC, and I'm not sure
There's gonna be a discussion
how we're gonna
at the
handle.
state level. You're not supposed to be running competitive programs versus the technical center serving your region. And HCTC did it. It was a separate individual decision without any conversation or consideration for HCTC. That's a whole other issue.
It's a whole other issue, but
But that's with their welding program, not ours, because
The welding program is a recognized
There.
official satellite program
Yeah,
right.
by the state of Maine. Our kiddos will get certifications,
Who doesn't have great
opportunities
for-
to test for certifications. I'm not sure what kids are being provided through the other program. So,
Is it because they're private, that they think that they can do that, or is
they,
like,
but you handle that.
so move right along.
They're board meeting and out.
Well, and the third thing is, and the most important, was we went over their budget again. And they made some cuts and some changes, and because of it, we're saving quite a bit of money. We have 50 students that are going, as of right now, 50 students going down. We thought our tuition was gonna be $1,500 per, and now it's about $500 per, so we're saving $1,000 per. Well, yeah,
What are they losing with?
Not necessarily all cuts. It has to do with,
the new program was one of them.
well, the new program is not necessarily being cut upon further review. However, Scott, well, the new program is gonna be cut.
Okay,
Okay, but we also talked about the potential of another program being cut. That's not gonna happen. There is gonna be some additional balance forward used to offset that.
okay,
But the ultimate impact is gonna be $500 or less for tuition. So we've adjusted draft 6. You'll see it next Thursday night. That's a significant savings of monies. And ideally, the spirit of the new CTE funding law was not that we were gonna be adding, $1,000, $2,000 per kid tuition. Fortunately, that's how it's worked out. It's supposed to be a break even. It's not happening, and I keep looking for reasons why, yet haven't found clear indication, but we've improved it dramatically through the conversation, so.
And Forrest Gump would say, that's all I have to say about that.
Any questions, further questions around the ACTC program? Okay, item K, old business, we have none. Moving on to L, new business, L1 personnel, resignations and retirements.
Yep, in your packet, you should have resignations from Donna Short, who is our halftime social studies teacher and halftime assistant principal at the middle school. Also resignation for Tina Tippin, the EMS math teacher. Support personnel, Melissa Avila at Tech One. Coaches, co-curricular, as I said, Joe Dorr, BMS Robotics, David Gross, BHS Wrestling, and transportation works for the Transportation Collaborative, Mr. James Swan, mechanic.
I move that we accept the resignations with regret.
Second.
We have a second.
Yes.
Okay, I heard it, but I didn't.
Not be louder.
Any further conversation around the motion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor? Thank you. Okay, LB, L1B nominations.
Yeah, if you don't mind, if the board would entertain, I'd like to do this as a separate motion. And I'd like to bring forward my nomination of Power Woods to be the next Director of Special Services for RSG 25.
Second. I mean, motion.
We have a first,
I'm new here.
we have first and a second. Any comments, conversation?
Gonna move right into the seat.
I love it.
All those in favor? All those opposed, none.
Fantastic.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Dara. Very exciting. Also for nomination, we do have Nina Bagley, Special Education and Tech for me.
I move that we accept Nina Bagley.
That's what I meant to say. I second that.
Okay,
Perfect. First and second, all those in favor?
perfect. Thank you very much.
Okay, item 2, nomination and possible approval of teachers for second year probationary contract.
Yeah, as I indicated in my report, part of the process is teachers work under a 2-year probationary cycle. They, through that time is when they're, they go through the evaluation process, but they do it annually. As we get into the PEPG, you look at that, that's a rotation after every X amount of years, once people have established, but starting off, it's every year, 2 years complete program. So I bring forward my nomination to move to a second-year probationary contract. Audrey Kamen, Christina Cloutier, Jerry Copeland, Maddie Cormier, Catherine Everhart, William Everhart, Brandon Elder, Michael Garcelon, Madeline Hanlon, Orly McKnight, Aaron Montgomery, Gwendolyn Murphy, Julie Robbins, Samantha Schlosser, and Ryan Woodard.
Well, I move that we approve the teachers for second year probationary contract.
Second. First and a second. Any questions, concerns around the motion? All those in favor?
Thank you very much.
Nomination, possible approval of teachers for continuing contracts.
After going through 2 years, teachers would move on to, with approval of the board and my nomination, would move on to a continuing contract. These teachers have all received positive reviews from their principals for both years. And I am nominating them to move to a continuing contract. Emma Bennett, Brittany Blair, Allison Braley, Samantha Charest, Chandra Cody, Heather Davis, Angel Bryant, Sarah Carey, Matthew Schaefer, Melissa Sukforth, Tracy Sullivan.
I move that we approve the teachers listed for continuing contracts.
A second.
First and a second. All those in favor?
Thank you.
Consideration of the STARS program overnight trip to Hurricane Island, May 8 and 9.
Yep, you have information in your packet. This is a trip that was originally planned last year, but for various reasons had to be postponed. These kiddos in the STARS program have done a great job working towards this and planning. I don't know if you picked up in the reading or not. Hurricane Island is providing us a superior value in terms of cost, much below what the regular cost would be.
I wondered, I saw that and I kind of thought, why, is this a misprint or?
No, it's not a misprint. They're really working with us and, I'm
And
happy to
it's
answer questions if you
paid by
have
the
it, or
grants.
Mr. West can answer questions and he's
And
been
it's being paid by the grant too.
paid by the grant.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a great opportunity for kiddos.
Absolutely.
What an interesting, yeah.
And they'll have the opportunity to go out there overnight. They go through design programming. A lot of it's teamwork, understanding, planning, communicating. And they're in an environment that is, let's say, not typical for them, right? I mean, they're on an island,
They will not have cell phone reception and there's no point to bring them.
which is a refreshing.
Wow.
Yeah, they go across on a boat. They land and then they go to work.
One of the unique things that they are doing for us is they live on, I mean, that facility is on a remote offshore island, and so they don't have a lot of resources, and so they've put a lot of work in the last 10 years to be sustainable. And if you look at our greenhouse, we're very excited about it, but we also are concerned about the sustainability of a greenhouse in winter. And so part of what they're gonna do is explore sustainable systems at Hurricane Island. They're gonna learn how to do specific things that they can then bring back and do in the greenhouse, to help make that more sustainable and efficient in the long term, so. It's multifaceted, but
Kiddos will all need permission slips signed from their parents and typical with our permission slips, it explains what's gonna happen, but it also explains to, this is not without risk. Right? Unfortunately, the reality is you are going out on a boat. You are gonna be remote on an island. If something happens, it's gonna take time to get people back, so it's informed consent. I personally would not hesitate to allow my child to go. I would feel great excitement for them to have that.
Yeah,
opportunity.
putting them on an island for a night. Seems-
almost all of their staff are wilderness first responders.
You don't listen to them?
But it's not like Corona.
Different island.
No, we let you come.
You've got power, you've got cell phone reception, you got all kinds of stuff. You got a door over there. Pretty good bakery. So because this is an overnight trip, we do need board permission to continue from here.
Move that we allow the planning and execution of this trip to take place.
I second. First and second, any further questions, concerns? All those in favor? Thank you. Consideration and possible approval of the vote entitled, a vote to call minor capital referendum and approve the warrants and public hearing notices for that purpose.
Yep.
Be approved and formed for them this meeting, and that a copy of this vote be included in the minutes of this meeting.
And you do in your packet have the motion in its totality. Take a look at that. It's important you follow along. Because this is an issuance of a loan, and through the main bond bank, we have to go to a public referendum. So as a board, and you're the body responsible, this board needs to vote to call the referendum on the issuance of the SRRF funds and bonds. The next agenda item discussed as well. But the motion basically will allow us to go ahead and call the referendum and put the question to the voters on June 13th.
And is this in regards to the $40,000 in capital improvement projects we've been discussing?
No, sir, this is to do with the SRRF loans.
The $1 million
Right,
loans.
Yeah.
The ones that are forgiven 58% at 0%.
correct, exactly. Yep. And that's what this is, and this is you as an official elected body calling that to bring the vote to the public. And as we go on to the next agenda item, my recommendation to awarding of the bid is always predicated in our last voting motion, pending voter approval. Okay, so we want to be very clear, and the bidders were told that this is all pending voter approval. I'm being assumptive and think the voters would approve this, but it's up to them to have that decision. So Is there somebody willing to make the motion?
I move that the vote entitled, vote to call referendum on issuance of SRRF bonds and approve the warrants and public hearing notices for that purpose be approved in the form presented to this meeting, and then a copy of this vote be included with the minutes of this meeting.
A second.
First and second, any further questions or comments?
So this isn't what's going to be on the ballot, right? We're not approving the actual ballot question.
No, the ballot question is going to be, do you support RSU 25 board entering into a loan agreement with the Maine Bond Bank in the sum of $2.9 million with $1.7 million forgiven with a repayment of $1.2 million over the next 10 years will be the actual question.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just didn't know we had, I didn't see any numbers in this. I thought maybe this is what we were
Yeah.
putting on, and I want to make sure numbers were going to be on the ballot.
Oh, yes, oh,
Okay.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that was just my clarification.
Yep,
So,
yep.
Any further questions?
Do we need to have pending voter approval on
Next motion,
on the motion? Okay,
next, not this one.
then no questions.
Okay. All right, all those in favor? Perfect. And nobody opposed. Thank you.
Yeah, that wasn't my fault.
Yep. Well, and this is short compared to some of them carrying, you may see.
Oh, I know. I'm
We've
sure.
had some of these that are like 2 or 3 pages.
We'll let Scott read those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna suggest we sign at the end of the night, we'll let everybody else go, but when we do the signing, because you're gonna sign a warrant. Like you're gonna sign your name 40 times,
Sweet, love it.
and you have to do it in the same way, in the same order, with the same color pen. And if you,
On the same line.
and if you mess it up, then you gotta start again.
Oh, God.
Lot of pressure.
We can get out of here at 8, we can get out of here at midnight. It's up to us, guys.
And just, no pressure, we always start here and work our way.
And end with
this
me,
way.
because I'm a slow writer.
He gets distracted sometimes.
Just a little.
Item 6, consideration of superintendent's recommendation to award a bid for Buckland Middle School exterior envelope project, MLS air quality and BHS air quality.
So if you could refer back to my report under L5, I actually put in the real question that you'll see on the ballot. Okay, and it's, do you favor authorizing the school board of regional school unit 25, quote unquote, the RSU to issue bonds and other evidences of indebtedness in the name of the RSU in an amount not to exceed $2,941,051 through the state of Maine's zero interest rate loan forgiveness school revolving renovation fund, the SRRF program for the renovation projects as set forth below, collectively the project. Project and funding information through the SRRF bond program. The state has offered to forgive 58.24% up to $1,712,868 of the total project loan and to provide a zero interest loan for 41.76% up to $1,228,183 for the total project loan as follows. And it breaks down the 3 projects. They approved the loan amount in full, the amount of the loan to be forgiven, the amount of the loan to be repaid at zero interest over 10 years. The payment will be once it starts, and I put in the application requested to start July 1, 2025, which will give you a couple of years before it starts to, because it has to be repaid within 6 months after the projects, and this will be fine with that. And the repayment amount will be $122,818 per year for 10 years. And that covers all of those projects, $2.9 million. So my recommendation is pending voter approval, we award the bid for the BMS exterior envelope project, Miles Lane Air Quality Project, and the BHS Air Quality Project as presented in the bid form to Mechanical Services, and the amounts representative on the bid, which again are all below the amounts of the money here. As we've discussed in also, the BMS school exterior project will require an additional up to $400,000 of money's coming from our capital reserve account. We will have money in there to cover that. So. There, that was a mouthful. I hope everybody understood that, but my recommendation is you accept mechanical services bid as presented.
Can you refresh my memory? What exactly is the air quality project at the two schools?
What it's gonna be is it's gonna be a complete rebuild of all the air handlers that are on the roof, rebalancing, it's a rebuild, it's a rebuild, all the motors, everything, and so it's a, I guess refurbishment is.
At first, we were scared because we thought they meant replace.
Right.
And they said, oh, no, we just gotta tweak them.
Yeah.
For a new mode, well, it's a tweak, but it's got to tweak.
Two motors are big, that's gonna be new, right?
Right, now, for the Miles Lane School, what you're gonna see is, what you have up there is appropriate to handle it, but there's a number of issues within the system, it's 30 years old now, that they have to replace motors entirely, rebuild motors, rebuild fan bearings, go through it top to bottom. And then they've got to rebalance it. And the new ASHRAE standards, which is the American standard for HVAC, requires a higher air exchange rate. So they'll rebalance the whole system to meet that new standard. So it's quite a bit of work. Here at the high school, they're going to do very similar, but they are going to add new HVAC to the cafeteria, which we do not have.
Never have it.
Never had it. It's just-
Well, never had it.
Wrestler, I can vouch for that.
Yeah.
It's a wonder I'm still here today.
And the project is much called for. And the work that will have to be done in the future, I mean, schools are gonna be held to this new standard. This gives us a chance to get to that standard and meet the standard with great help with a zero interest loan.
And am I correct, if I remember correctly, they're not just gonna do this and leave and walk away. They're gonna come back every year to,
That's part of the previous agreement we made with BIMS.
which is quite a,
Right, they're gonna stay for, it's this year and 4 more years afterwards
and then
to maintain it, and then at that point, we either contract with them to maintain it or to take it on ourselves and just, you know, that's gonna be a decision the board would have to make in 4 years, but right now, and the bigger project before this is we're putting in 4 new boilers, new water heaters, and they're projected, we're gonna save over $80,000 a year in energy efficiency. I think it's gonna be much more. I think in another year, when we get to have the statistics to look at, we're gonna see significant cost savings. All these lights will be replaced by LED lights throughout the whole district. They've already done the insulating, the weather stripping. It's a lot of work. It is expensive, but it is gonna save us over time and improve the quality of our facilities. And the learning environment is critically important.
and everything's gonna be new. All the boilers and the lights and.
Yeah, at least in 2 schools, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we've replaced a lot of LED lights already.
even those are gonna be
They're even gonna be
new
replaced
generation.
already.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Big time.
Scott, that was 10 years ago we started that project.
It seems like yesterday.
Right.
Really?
These ain't your daddy's LEDs anymore.
Exactly.
Cool.
I know the feeling.
There's no further discussion, we'll entertain a motion.
So we just have to move to recommend that we take the bids from mechanical services.
Motion to approve the bids.
Pending vote of approval.
Yeah. Yeah. And superintendent's recommendation.
So moved.
Second. First and second, any further questions or comments around the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 7. Consideration to grant the superintendent or designee the authority to issue contracts for hiring staff through September of 2023.
Yeah, we have, with some new board members, give you some history to this, is we are an extremely competitive hiring environment. And where you meet once a month, if we go through the hiring process, which we always do, we review the applications, we have interview committees, which include board members and encourage to have board members on there. We come out with a preferred candidate, barring any information that I would find out in checking out references and everything, we would bring the name to the board. the board would elect, and then I would issue a contract. This motion would give me the authority to, if approved by the hiring committee, would allow me to tie somebody into a contract prior to coming to the board. The only other alternative is we would have to have a special board meeting like quickly, because this environment, we have lost candidates within less than 10 hours.
Which I just want to add, we gave last year at least, but maybe even the year before, and it's worked out
You
nicely.
granted me this authority over the last 5 years.
5 years,
It makes
So-
sense.
and it is, in every field, it's a competitive job market, so I can only imagine it's the same.
And it's a limited authority through the month of September. And one of the things that, since we've been doing this, is we always believe that we need to have board representation on the interview committees. Love to have, 2 or 3. We always have at least one, because it's critically important. I mean, it's really, that's your role, right?
And in my experience on the board, whenever possible, you've still gone through the regular motions. to do so.
Always,
The
yeah.
whole process.
Follow the process, but this is, I mean, we're in the hiring season, we're gonna have 3 to 4 positions posted here in the next couple of days. If we have a viable candidate, the candidate's good, to be able to get them hired. It's critical, because we could lose them.
Yeah.
So it's up to you. I will certainly do whatever you decide, but I think, Abby, we've managed it over the last few years.
Yeah, I think we've really gotten a lot of good people with this system, so I'm in favor of keeping it the way it's been. I think it's worked.
And in order to do it, I need the board to grant me that authority.
Make the motion.
I move that we grant the superintendent and or designee the authority to issue contracts when hiring staff through September 2023.
Seconds.
First and a second, any other concerns or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor? Thank you.
We give you the power.
And I take it very humbly and not lightly.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Even more so, yes.
Okay, moving on. Item 8.
Now, I would do administrative reports and then we'll start
Perfect.
Yay.
the marathon. It's something, if you haven't experienced it, it's really.
Is it exciting?
It's actually been reduced a little bit.
You're gonna get a cramp in your thumb. Doing your
Oh,
hands
they
like
have
this
that? Nice.
during.
I actually did a whole basketball the other day. It was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Why don't we have rubber stand?
particularly.
It's gotta be
thumb.
a rigid
Stretch the thumb.
Yeah. The good news is you can keep the pen.
It'll be out of hand.
He gave you a good.
Yeah, I think you did.
We spent
Looks like a
23 cents a
gel.
piece.
I mean, they're not moving around this year.
Want to take a three, like the year?
I like it, except the nice.
I prefer Pilot G2 gel.
Next time.
If they get wet.
Moving right along, Christina,
Yeah,
let's go.
okay. So you have a copy of my report. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. Just to kind of summarize the bulk of what I've been doing is what Adam talked about, the ELA curriculum work, the career ready curriculum work, and serving on the PEPG, so the Professional Evaluation and Professional Growth Planning Committee for educator evaluation. And I did link a copy of that draft for you in my report, just so that you could see it in its entirety. Again, it's not quite done, that's why it's in draft form, and it's not done until you approve it, because that's required, that you approve it. And so my plan would be, or the PEPG team's plan would be to bring that to, we won't have it ready by May 9th, that's a fast turnaround, but we will have it ready for the June meeting, so June 20th. It will go back to curriculum steering on June 1st, for a final look, and then we'll bring it to you. The other bulk of my work has been preparing for the lovely new Maine 3-year assessment that we are required to take. The testing window is opening May 1st. And so all of our students in grades 3 through 8 and second year of high school have to take the Maine 3-year assessment, which is a version of the NWEA, but not exactly the NWEA. And I tried to explain that in my report for you, and I won't go into detail because it's a lengthy amount of information, but feel free to call me or stop by or email me and I can walk you through it if you're interested. So we will be testing math and reading for those grades between that window. We do have to get that 95% participation rate, so we're going to work on that.
And then May 15th through the 26th, our 5th graders, 8th graders, and 3rd year of high school need to take the required main science assessment. And the science assessment consists of 3 60-minute sessions that they will have to do in that 2-week window. Again, we have to meet that 95% participation rate. So I've been doing a lot of work around that, working with Jim Morrow and Katie Hodgins to make sure our rosters are updated, to make sure our equipment is ready to go. So I think we're good. Aren't any issues. They keep changing the rules. Jim Morrow will tell you that when he comes out later, but I think we're good as of today. And then just basically want to publicly share that tomorrow is Administrative Professional Day, and we have amazing central office staff and school building staff that are on the front lines every single day for us. They are the first people that anyone might call or stop by and see, so I want to publicly thank them, and we'll be celebrating them this week as well. I'm not sure if Todd or Darcy will highlight it, but we did get accepted into the PBIS cohort for next year too, which is a huge step for us. That will come along with a lot of training around positive behavioral interventions and supports for our K-8 population, building school climate and culture, and just taking a concerted effort on that. So I wanted to share that. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Andrea?
Yeah, thank you. Good evening and everything. It's a short report, basically talking about getting ready for testing, accommodations, meeting, looking at testing scheduling with the window of time that we have, making sure that because many of our students have extra time on this test, so we're trying to make sure that we keep in sync service time, keeping true those, but also making sure that we have areas that children can test until they complete the test and they work down through the season. Also, 28th on Friday, the multi-state alternative assessment test will be all completed. All of our students will have completed that as long as no one doesn't come the next day or so.
Andrew, that's only for 1% of our population.
That's only 1% of our population. That's for the very severely handicapped students. They have certain accommodations embedded into it. We have to take a couple trainings and then do review modules in order to make sure that they have the right environmental factors in order to test and get a better sense of really what their true ability are and what the standards are based on grade, are common for grade level standards, but they're connectors. So it will give the learning progression rate up through high school, but it will have the standards that align, so you don't have to fish around to learn, so you know what the natural sequence of really is very helpful with planning lessons for these students too, so that they're getting as much common core exposure, but also make sure that their programming has the functional goals that they need to grow. And also we're getting ready and starting to plan for our summer services, which is ESY extended school year. And many people get that confused with summer school. Yes, it is in the summer, and yes, it is special education services, but it's not special education summer school, it's extended school year. And there's a certain formula that we have to look at students handicapped. We also have their severity of the handicap and look at the different factors of if they don't receive these particular specially designed instruction strategies during the summer, will they regress so much that it will take too long in the fall to have them recoup that? Everyone has that summer lag. You have to get back warmed up. You do a couple weeks of review for our general education students and many of our learning disabled students and other, but there are some profile students that really need more drill and practice, and when they are exposed to their IEP goals, they will regress. We measure that, it's called data driven. We measure that after long weekends, our vacation, our Christmas break. We always are doing progress monitoring before and after vacation so that we can see, might not be the true impact of a month and a half of no school, but it certainly will give you a window if they're at high risk of that. And in the spring, we make recommendations and we try to make sure that we advertise for staffing to come in and do the IEP goals. It's not the enrichment. But it's really targeting the goals that they need to have. And actually, TAR has something exciting because you made a recommendation this year that we don't usually do.
Yeah, so I did, I mean, I'm glad that you brought it up. I just wanted to share with you all that we, Andrea and I nominated, one of our special education teachers as,
She's outstanding.
for Hancock County, to be the MAGSEC, which is sort of like the MPA for special educators, special educator of the year. So we nominated Jennifer Bowden for that,
Very much,
honor.
very
And so
genuine,
she's the
all
Hancock County
around,
rep.
wonderful resource room teacher, wonderful leader. Many of you had family members with it. Gone up through, she's been a long time in the TAR has, and it's really exciting, and it was very exciting for her to be open to the nomination. Sometimes people that truly really deserve that also. Some excellent teachers don't feel comfortable with just being acknowledged that way. So we were really thrilled to have that opportunity.
Good, exciting.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Tripp.
Yeah, Dr. Tripp, yes, yeah.
So good evening, everyone. Obviously, my board report was pretty focused on one major event. I'm actually going to intentionally not speak a ton about that tonight because I would like to bring the robotics team actually here to our next board meeting so we can formally recognize them when they're all back here. They're pretty tired. Most of them may or may not have made it to school today because it was a long trip. What I will say, prior to having them here, we can actually talk about them and recognize them specifically. I do want to echo what Jen had said earlier. To have this happen, you have to have a special group of kids and a special group of mentors, which we know we have. And again, we will celebrate them and say great things about them when they're here and they can hear it and appreciate it. But I think you also have to have a community that's supportive of these types of programs. And I think, I'm just guessing, but it was well over 100 people that were here, from 9:15, 9:30 at night to 10:30, 10:45 at night, celebrating a group of students, and the success that happened. And it's not just our robotics students. I mean, our community is very supportive of all of our programming. But it's definitely something that we truly are proud of, and it starts with the support of the board to, allow us to send 22 kids plus mentors, halfway across the country and spend a lot of money to do that. But the experiences and the learning that we get in this type of trip, in competition, we are going to see that pay dividends, and we're going to get that money back tenfold, just in terms of, on Monday, we had 2 people saying we want to talk for the school, we want to see the robotics program, and these are our students from other communities that will be filling our registration packets. So again, the support that we get, that I know it's a big number that we put into this program. Whether we get it all back or not, that's not the big thing, but I just want you to recognize that it is making a difference. And to see, 100 plus people, celebrating something like that last night was really, pretty special and pretty cool and something great to be part of. So again, we'll celebrate the kids. I don't want to take the focus on them because it is about them, but I do want to make sure that we formally recognize all of our sponsors, the board, and also, our staff, not just our mentors, but, these students, a lot of time from school to go on these trips. When teachers have to work with them and accommodate them to make sure that they're staying up on the studies, and it takes truly a community to make something like that happen. So thank you again, for allowing us to do that. You have the rest of my report. I'm gonna be flooding you with dates. This is the time of year where you get a lot of emails from me in regards to graduation, class night, academic banquets, just whether you will be attending or not, so that we can get appropriate seating, for that. I will send out, rather than I think take the time here tonight, I will send you guys found out what's granted me, the commencement is your ceremony. You've allowed me to plan it and then send you the plans, and then you just kind of say, yes, go ahead or not. We've had pretty good success. As I put my report with the outdoor ceremony, we've been able to get more people. So we are going to move ahead. It will look very similar, but I will, once I get that, this week, really finalized, after I get the public safety and tech department and my graduation committee, you'll get the finalized detailed plan. But I wouldn't expect anything too drastically different than what we've done the last 2 years. So, and then the last thing I'll just highlight is, senior class trip has looked very different over the last few years, because of COVID. We moved to the senior days. We had a senior group that really wanted to try to get back to a senior class trip. And I fought them a little bit early on, but they've had a lot of stuff kind of taken away from them over the years. So I really kind of let them try to make the decision that they felt was right. They come up well short of their fundraising goal to do the trip that they wanted. They are going to have basically a day trip that they are going to be doing. That's why you haven't seen an excursion trip come to you. It is going to be a day trip down to Old Orchard Beach on a Sunday. They're going to stop at us, nothing real major. I think a lot of that has to do with a number of factors. Congratulations, a lot of kids that just went to Houston. They're doing lots of other stuff a lot there. So I don't think this is really kind of taking the focus that it used to. And I think it will kind of set the stage for us moving back to what we've done the last 2 years in regards to looking at the senior days with bigger participation. And the Boosters Club All Activities Club has really had some ideas on how we can make that a more meaningful day. But so I kind of want to update you on that I haven't come to you looking for that day just for seniors this year, because I was trying to work with the senior class and kind of honor what they had started as freshmen. And it just didn't quite work out the way that we had hoped. So.
Any questions, Mr. Tripp? Just one other point, you are going to plan, once the mentors get back and your coaches get back, you are going to plan a more public reception at a more civil.
Yes, we will be, again, it was trying, everybody wanted to know like exactly what minute are they coming back into town, and 3 days ago, and it was really tough for me to kind of anticipate when everybody's going to be getting back here, trying to track them off the plane, and like on my phone, you're at the baggage plane, and now where are you at the and trying to make sure my Facebook posts were accurate. So we will be doing something where we can invite sponsored community. And again, I really wanted to give the mentors and the team, like, they need to just breathe. Like, it's been a long month and a half. So we will kind of get together. So what's the best way that we can recognize them, how the community kind of take part of it. And so we will have a separate event. And the details will come from that. We have lots of media coverage coming tomorrow. Channel 2, Channel 5, and Channel 7. We were all going to be here tomorrow to interview kids and coaches. So
We could call it Robo Fest.
yeah, and you have a press release that will be coming out. I'll send to the board as well too.
RoboFest 2023.
And the robot is now in inspection.
Yeah. So the robot will not be back for another 6 to 8 weeks. So we actually have to have that shipped back. Unfortunately, a lot of the awards that they won are also in that crate with the robot. So they will not make it back for 6 to 8 weeks. Either, what's that?
I don't know, I heard a rumor that it's in a different crate, that it's gonna be here sooner.
I heard lots of rumors. I know our mentor was still the last, like, Mr. Groves told me that it was in the crate with the robot, but that could be wrong. And so, and then the tools are getting shipped to New Hampshire, so, Mr. Groves is driving down on Thursday to get the tools. I mean, it's the details to make this happen again, there was.
Huge production.
It is, but if you watched it, if you followed it on, I mean, it was like watching a concert, like the finals, match, and again, you know, I don't want to do that the same presentation, 2 different board meetings, so, you know, we'll go through it a little bit more, but it was really, really good to follow, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. West.
Everyone's got a copy of my report. We also have lots of really exciting things going on at the middle school. 2 of them that I wanted to highlight for you, dates that we would certainly welcome any participation. One of them is next weekend with the Little Mermaid Junior production opening up, the middle school musical. If you have never been to a middle school musical, it is probably like the cutest thing in the world. You know, middle school kids spend all day long trying not to be noticed. And then these kids get on stage and they're like, come alive. And it's, you know, like kids that you heard say 3 words over 4 years are like singing songs and dancing. And it's, you know, it's pretty amazing. And it's a great show. So there's, we're going to be back to 3 shows this year. So there's going to be Friday night, Saturday night shows at 7 o'clock, and then Sunday matinee. If anyone has little kids in the family, it's always a great way to spend, you know, that Sunday is always rainy, doesn't matter, it's always rainy, so it's a reason to come out and, you know, see a show. So I encourage everyone to come. It'd be a great performance. And then a little bit further down the line, we're having, what's that?
What are the dates for the?
May 5th, 6th, and 7th.
So Cinco de Mayo.
Cinco de Mayo and Seis de Mayo and
Yeah.
And then a little bit further down the line, we're gonna have BMS Family Night, which is sort of a new event for us. It's our Title I family engagement activity. It used to be known as Celebration of Learning. And it's not drastically different, but we want to organize things a little bit differently. And we also want to really focus on Celebration of Learning was sort of like, come see what kids are learning, which is a great thing to do. But now we also are thinking, in what ways can we work with parents and help parents and have them leave feeling like they have something that they can also take home and do with the kids that's related to learning and that sort of stuff. So we're kind of shifting it a little bit that way. Mr. Burgess, the biggest shift is that there probably will not be ice cream this year.
That was a question I was gonna ask.
Yeah, but assuming we can perfect our process, we're thinking there might be like pizza available. So, but we want to make sure it's cooked the right amount and not too little or not too much in the pizza oven. And we're still learning how to do so. So there's a chance there'll be pizza, but Celebration of Learning was famous for ice cream. We probably are past our ice cream phase and we're in the homemade pizza. So
And if mentioned, you have to fall back, will we fall back to ice cream?
if we have to, yeah, if we have to. Family night is also going to serve as like our soft opening of the greenhouse and the applied learning lab. It's not going to be fully finished this school year, unfortunately, because we just got the water from yesterday, finally. And that's pretty important for like fish, they need water. And that whole process has to be set up and it has to like cycle through all these different nutrient cycles, which is great learning, but it's not very exciting showing. But we are gonna, as part of family night, we're gonna have the greenhouse open. We're gonna show folks what's there right now. We're gonna show folks what we hope it'll look like by the time school starts again in the fall, some of the, you know, goals and outcomes and what we would like to do with that. So it'll be an exciting opportunity anyway. And then just to end, one thing that's not on my report, I just wanted to let the board know that there has been a group of teachers and myself meeting since December, looking at how we might be able to make some pilot adjustments to our schedule for the next school year, coming school year, in hopes of really looking at how can we use our staffing resources a little bit differently and a little bit more effectively? How can we provide students some less fragmented learning time with fewer things pulling them in different directions so that they can focus on what they're trying to focus on at the moment? And also integrating some of that experiential learning into the curriculum so that it's not just 18 kids in the STARS program that happen to get that, or 6 kids in an intervention group that happen to get that, but how can like an entire grade level have more access to that and be able to do it? So that group is close to finishing its work. It's made some recommendations and shared some work with Ms. Ellis and Mr. Boothby, other staff members. And so I think by the May 9th board meeting, I'll have a lot more information that I can share with you at that time. But that process is kind of wrapping up and ready to be shared at the next step. So, any questions?
Thank you. Ms. Dakin.
So as Christina had mentioned, NUIA testing is just around the corner. And our K through 4 students will be taking the NUIA, and then our 3rd and 4th grade students will be taking the new through year assessment. And I'll be working with the 3rd and 4th grade team on Friday during PLC to help make sure that they're comfortable with all the procedures to make that happen. We have kindergarten screening coming up, where we still have the registration process open. We have probably about 8 families who have registered so far. And just bringing the new building, because Jewett will be closed starting June 12th. We'll be bringing that staff up to the Miles Lane School. Miles Lane will be very, very busy this summer. And we'll be, the registrations and the screenings will be out of the Miles Lane building. So I'll be sending out more information to families about how that's going to work and what days the screenings will be. We also have our family Title I night coming up May 18th. And we in fact do have an ice cream truck. Who will be parked outside of our building, and I believe they might show up a little bit earlier than when we open our doors, so families can get in line a little bit early before they come in. Last year, he got bombarded with families, and he just barely kept up with it. So
I have to tell you, I saw him at a cancer fundraiser. Like, I'm coming back, but I'm going to be prepared. Like 300 ice cream.
And they are he does take donations, but he gives 100% of the funds to the school for the literacy programs.
And if folks can't afford it, doesn't matter.
Exactly, they don't have to. Other things that have been happening, we had our 23rd annual Children's Fair at Jewett, thanks to Nicole, our assistant principal, and Alicia Smith, who helped her plan that, and some other staff. It was a huge success, and a lot of the vendors who were there were asking to come back next year. So we're excited about that, and the families had a great time, and they were asking about next year. So they had things like school readiness, healthy snacks, car seat inspections, and Acadia National Park was there with an activity for the kids. So all the businesses had activities set up for families. So it was nice. And then another highlight I wanted to share, we finally have almost all grade levels paired up with reading buddies across Miles Lane, Jewett, and BMS. We started with BMS right before vacation. They worked with our wing 2. That was great. And now we're working with them to set up a time to work with our wing 1 first and second graders. And finally, I had asked Mark Neslucin if he could have his high school band come to Miles Lane to perform we invited pre-K through 4 and filled the gymnasium, and he had his band there, and our Bucks Beat band had an opportunity to play with the high school band. So that was a huge success.
And the kids, the only complaint they had is it was too loud, Mrs. Davian. And I had some that ran out to get their noise canceling headphones. It was cute. And the music was 60s and 70s, 60s, 70s and 80s music. It was awesome. And that's all I have for you. Any questions?
Thank you. It's nice to see you having the ice cream though. But
Yes.
big deal. Kathy.
If you haven't had a chance to check out my report, I did include color pictures at the end of the most recent batch of ceramics. And I think all but one have already seen us and when's the next class. So we're pretty excited about that. It's grown measurably since the first class that we had, and made every single one of them talked, just couldn't say how great Molly was. So we're very pleased that Molly Boston has been willing to do this for us, and been nothing but compliments and how fantastic and patient she is. So this has been really great. We've enjoyed having that back, and she has already agreed, or we strong-armed her into another class in the fall. But she's been really great about it. So you have my report. There's a lot of stuff about grants in there. If anybody has any questions, feel free to come and speak with me. I'll happy to talk with you about that. But the gist of it is, for most of our grants, they took money that 2 or 3 programs had, and then we're renewing this year, and we're sharing them amongst 7. So at the same time, we're supposed to work in a hub and make nice with each other. So they really, it's kind of awkward. We're competing against each other within our hub, but we're all doing really well at it. We're trying to work together, share resources. And we're renewing as we're doing reports. But the big thing, which I'm really excited about, is we have another batch of high set students going through. Our 2 students that I spoke about did actually pass their test, and 2 new graduates. And I started the next batch this week. I have 2 of them going through, and a 3rd is starting next week. And there are 5 tests to each of those. One of the decisions that I made early on is to do them separately, because a lot of our students come in with anxiety, and you're taking a single test in each subject. And there can't be any noise, and you're doing this, or what's going, and the guy across from you is going, you're interrupting my test, then you have to tell them to leave. And this was really hard. So we made the choice to do single, or the last 2 were brother-sister, and they worked very well together. We sat them back to each other. But, and they were down to who's gonna graduate first. And it literally came down to who clicked there, and then they decided at the very end, they would click and at the same time and graduate. Really a great experience to have them do that. But it is a lot for a student. The shortest test is 65 minutes, the longest one is 2 hours. And everything but the last test, they get scores instantly. So I will say, most of them turn around and say, can you tell me what my score is? Very few of them want to look themselves. So we're really happy, pleased. We're really excited. We have 1 diploma student graduating very shortly. She's working on a final project. So this has been a great year. We're really very excited. And the one I did one this morning at 10 o'clock, and her face, when she started with us, she was so nervous she couldn't talk. And this morning, when she got an 18 out of 20, which is college level and probably pushing into your sophomore year, her face just lit up, and she goes, I am smart. I wasn't sure. So it was a really great day for me. Any questions? And if you get a chance, check out the pictures.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Morrow. No. Man behind the curtain. Man behind the curtain.
You need to get a curtain, so I just like pop through. I've been walking around, I get winded. Yeah, absolutely. Talking it out. As usual, we work with the other departments within the RSU, and we actually stepped out and spoke to the collaboration of superintendents through Hancock County. on cyber conditions awareness and training. That was gonna be able to step out as a good partner and bring some of them up to people that may not be quite as involved as we are. Thanks, Mr. Boothby's permissions with that. As you mentioned with testing this year is three-pronged. We're preparing for the science test, which I know some of the administrators aren't talking about yet, so I'm sorry to bring that up. But the main through year and the WIA testing is now two-pronged for us. The way we roster is different in each one of the tests. The way we proctor in each one of the tests is different. So we're trying to bring that on board and finally at a place where we can be a resource for the rest of the department. Thanks for Christina's poking and keeping up with the changes. So I think we're well prepared for that now, as well as very thankful to have Katie Hodgins on board because she's a data person amongst many other hats she wears. And we're in a good position with her at the helm there. Miles Lane started changing over their phones. We are all digital phones throughout the district. Miles Lane was the last school to change over with Jewett, I think it was 3 years ago. And at the time we did that, we had a donation from the hospital in Belfast who was exiting the Mitel system, which we have, bringing a new system. So they gave us over 200 phones. The downside to that is that they were older phones. So at the time, for the last 2.5 years, they've been a great solution for us. We updated our system last year. Mitel went to a new security system. So the way they talk, those phones are no longer able to do it. However, we were able to purchase phones this year, so we're implementing those. We get a quarter of those in over April break. Between now and June, we'll have them all implemented and we can increase our security situation. So again, thankful for that donation from citizens that happen to live in town and making progress there. Preparing for the end of year as always. Also the past week, we're able to activate some of our plans. We have a business continuity plan that says if this happens, this is what we do. We had 2 opportunities to activate that. One was we talked about the robotics team. They're having tons of fun. One of the vendors they swiped our credit card with was overseas. And Mr. Boothby messaged me and said, are we shutting down this card or what are we doing? So through our systems and our relays, we're able to find out that was an authenticated purchase. And that's part of our business continuity plan. Without that credit card, basically robotics is stuck in Texas. So we're able to avoid that because we have procedures in place.
Without lodging.
Without lodging, right. Or they had lodging when they left to be a problem or try to leave. Lots of dishes.
They were not even allowed to check in. So
yeah, exactly. The other one was when we replaced, our CMP replaced the power here. The internet feed for the district is through this building. 2 years ago, leveraging E-rate funds, which I always preach about, we increased the durability of the system. Our internet now stays up just short of 5 hours in the event of a loss of power to this building, because this is where internet comes in. And we exceeded that with CMP. So part of our plan with the town, since we share a firewall, is that we're able to put the central office on the town's internet in the interim, which means that Katie was able to process payroll, Jim was able to attend the meetings he was supposed to, and great timing because we didn't have to supply the entire district because that'd be too much of a burden on the town. So 2 applications of alternative plans, business continuity plans in effect. So that was nice. We talked about the testing. FY24 planning and collection is upon us very quickly. How we're going to collect devices, how devices are distributed next year, what our resources are. So that's a lot of what we're doing right now. And that's basically what I had for you.
Did we pay any foreign transaction fees on that?
We did not, which I love. That's a very good question. I assume the Texas vendor had to though.
Yeah, generally there's a
They don't want that
3%
back
foreign
tax
transaction fee that somebody. pays.
That's right.
I think it was probably built into the overall cost. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Most of the time it's charged by the actual credit card company is why I asked.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, a quick overview of a couple things we have going on. I've mentioned before that we've been in planning for the return of sophomore trips as one of the things that we've been focused on at Aspire is helping to either piggyback off things that are already happening, and in some cases bringing back things that hadn't happened in a while. So sophomore trip will be every sophomore will be out of the building on May 2nd, and they will be either going to the Ellsworth, Trenton area or Bangor or Belfast based on their interest, and they'll see at least one educational facility and multiple businesses on their day. So we're excited about that. And I have to say Katie Hunter does a ton of work to organize those. We really appreciate that. Jordan and I have met with her about once or twice a week during her break time to prep period to keep get all that going. So that's been great. Some of the outings that have been happening, usually typically to colleges more often than businesses, but with colleges winding down in May, touring campuses isn't as exciting when there are no students there, and sometimes the students are the ones who usually give the tours and they might not be there. So there's been a shift this year to doing some late year trips that are going to be to businesses. So this morning, students had the opportunity to sign up in the lobby of high school for outings that include a really great next gen program that's coming in. It's going to be at CNL Aviation, and there are careers on for aviation, for engineering, for mechanics, things like that. And then there's, I think it's on the plane. And then we have one that's going to be at Stone Box Creamery. So that one will be focused on running a small business, of course, with ice cream involved. So that one was a quick one for sign up. And there are a couple others that are, Empire Beauty School, students are going there. So they also get to have some things that they get to pick there. So these are very, getting a lot of interest at these upcoming trips. And then students, there's a job corps opportunity tomorrow for students, and a recent trip to CNL Aviation to go to their actual facility happened recently as well. And we're trying to balance taking kids away or having things that they can do without having to leave school and they don't miss any time, or well, except for like maybe one period at most. And so there's a group that does a webinar about once a month on different types of healthcare. So Jordan was able to set up in the conference room at the high school and offer multiple sessions throughout a day that made the students could sign up for one or more of. They were all different types of healthcare. So trying to keep those variety of options. As Mr. Ruthie said, we are finally very close on the banners. It's taken quite a long time to get an idea approved and then go through the steps of CMP approval and town approval. It'll have Aspire Golden Box on one side and Be the Tradition Go Box on the other side. So, and they'll be alternating. So there's a gold and a purple side, and you'll be able to see those. And one of the things that came up when we went to the, down to the what's that one called? The other committee.
Economic development.
It wasn't economic development. It was the ones that had to approve there wasn't economic development.
School board, I mean, the town council.
No, the last one, the one that approves or, yeah.
Oh,
No,
planning committee.
thank you.
You're welcome. I wasn't quite with it. Sorry, Mike.
A couple meetings together
Yeah.
down at the town office, but this one was the planning committee. And they were excited because they said, people never know even how to get from one building to another. So you'll be able to say, follow the banner.
Follow the banners. Follow the banner.
So we're excited about that. And we did participate in early childhood fair, and I was unable to be there, so thank Jordan for taking that one on. We're also going to be at Miles Lane Family Night and VMS Family Night. It's a great opportunity to just be out there and tag on to those events. We appreciate that. And we also had a successful Future Ready Bingo night at the middle school.
That was a lot of fun.
We gave away a bunch of college and Aspire t-shirts, a lot of pizza and some candy, and introduced students and their families to common terms in
Vocabulary, yeah, and it was funny because the kids were like, what did this one mean again? What did this one mean again? Like, almost like they were trying to pull something over, but they were learning.
Yes.
And to say,
So as soon as the word came up the second time, you could wave
If she
candy,
calls
you
this,
could
what is
give
it
the
again?
definition. So that was really motivated them to listen and learn these definitions as they went. So it was good.
Yeah, we had another student just totally join my family because my oldest wasn't really interested in being a part of it, so. It was me and Sam and a new kid and Bill.
It was a good night.
It's fun.
Any questions?
Thank you. We'll probably go through announcements and calendars and subcommittee stuff, and then we'll do our.
Then we can do adjournment, and then you can do your silence.
Sounds good. Curriculum committee, June 1st, 6 o'clock, central office.
That's correct.
Paul? Was that?
That is correct.
Okay, good.
It is gonna be 6 o'clock, or we're gonna do 6:30.
You can do 6 o'clock because you're a standalone meeting.
Yeah, I know the Aspire's not gonna be there. All right, cool.
Policy committee, no meeting this month. Finance committee will be before our next board meeting here at 5:30 on May 9th. School board meeting will be on May 9th, following that at 6 o'clock. Facilities committee will meet May 18th at 4:30 at the central office. And Aspire will meet May 4th at 5:30 at the central office, and there'll also be a remote component to that. Does that highlight everything that we?
Well, and that will precede the budget workshop. on
That's gonna be a fun night.
May 4th, and that will be at the central office because this facility is being used for another activity being sponsored by Ms. Ellison, Dr. Tripp. And,
Is there a reason we're doing it at 6:30 and not 6?
yes, because they're meeting,
Because Aspire's
meeting at 5:30. So,
I'll accept that.
okay.
I don't think you're.
And that's gonna give, that's also gonna give me an opportunity to go visit, the town of Verona Select Board, because they're meeting that night. I always try to touch base with them.
In Anthony's email, he said that we were gonna meet on May 11th. You know,
He's wrong, it's May 18th.
he knows the seat.
Yes, he
Okay,
does.
just wanna make sure he knows.
Yeah. Yeah, that
That would be awkward.
Yeah, and they're all alone.
meetings go quicker that way, but no, it's the 18th, and the plan is, and we're waiting to hear back, but we'd like to have the folks from mechanical services come and talk to the facilities committee, just give them caught up to speed on everything that's going on, because there's a lot of work happening, and it's important people are kept abreast.
Budget district, the district budget meeting, don't forget, will be May 24th at 7 o'clock at the Bucksport Performing Arts Center, Plain Auditorium. And the budget validation referendum will be at our municipal polling places on June 13th.
Mr. Grindle has agreed to be our moderator again this year, which is good. It's always good to have somebody from within your community. If possible. So,
At this time, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn. I move that we adjourn.
I second.
First and second, all those in favor? Thank you.
and the time is 7:30.
Everybody.